Okay, in this lesson we're going to look at percentages, fractions and decimals. So we're going to express the fraction as a percentage. So when you get this 7/8, you can just, it's like the same as saying 7 divided by 8. So you can pop them into your calculator. You don't need to be able to do that division. You can just pop it in your calculator. Now if you do it on your graphics calculator and so I typed it in 7 divided by 8 and I get this answer, you can just press Control Enter and you'll get the decimal answer. So we can change that to 0.875. For this next example, if you have 2, it's like you've got 2 plus 1/5. So you might want to do on your calculator the 1 divided by 5, and you'll find out that that's 0.2. So therefore you can write that fraction as 2.2 is the same. Okay? If you're asked to express a decimal as a percentage, remember a percentage is something out of 100. So if we have a decimal and we want to make it, we actually times it by 100 to make it a percentage. So we go 1, 2 to times it, we move the decimal point. So this one would equal 37.5%. If I was looking at this one here, 1.97 as a percentage, so I still times it by 100. So I move the decimal point that way 2 times, and I'd end up with 197%. Okay? If we're asked to express the percentage as a decimal, well, that's where we would go backwards and we divide by 100. So we're dividing by 100, we move the decimal point, and 79% is the same as 0.79. So once again, if we had 120%, we move the decimal point over to back 2 because we're dividing by 100. We'll end up with 1.20 is a decimal of 120%. Now, if we're trying to make, we might get some worded questions. So say we said if MJ scored 16 out of his 18 free throws in a game, what is his percentage of success in free throws? So what you're going to say, really we're saying, well, he got 16 out of 18. So you can do that, you could simplify that too if you wanted to, 8/9, but you can type that into the calculator as 8 divided by 9 and see the decimal that it gives you. So that equaled 0.88 recurring, so I might say 889, I'll round up. So now you've got that as a decimal. If we want to make it as a percentage, we will just then times by 100. So we'll times by 100. So if he got 16 out of his 18 free throws in, that means he got 88.9% accuracy for that game. So sometimes we have to find at a percentage of an amount. So because you've got your calculators, you guys will for this. So what we could do is we'll change 20% to a decimal. And remember, we said if we're changing it back, we're going to move the decimal point back and we'll divide by 100. So 20% as a decimal is like 0.2. Now the word of means times. So if you go 0.2 times 35 into your calculator, you're going to find out what 20% of 35 is, which ends up being 7. Okay, so another way you could have worked it out is you could have written the percentage as a fraction. So we could say 20/100 times 35. And you can do that on your calculator, but probably best to change it back to a decimal and get the answer. So let's do this again for this 5% of $89.75. So remember, we want to make it a decimal, so we'll move the decimal place back because we're going to divide by 100. So really 5% as a decimal is actually 0.05, and because we want of, so we're going to times 89.75. So you do that on your calculator and we get $4, I'm going to round up to 2 decimal places because we're talking about money, and that would be to the nearest cent. So you can see if I do to 2 decimal places when you're talking about money, that means I've done to the nearest cent. Okay, which is often a good answer for monies.